In number 2 on page 58 for lesson 2.5, we're given that angle AEB is a complement of angle BEC. So remember, complement means, I'm just making a note to myself, they add up to 90 degrees. So angle AEB and BEC, they add up to 90. Using this information in our picture, we have to prove that the measure of angle AED is 90. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to let angle AEB, I'm going to make that yellow. So I'm just going to highlight this in yellow, and I'll do angle BEC in orange. Okay, and we know, so I'm going to add it in my picture, we know that they're complementary, meaning that together they make a right angle. They add up to 90. So this angle AEC, I can tell from my picture that it's going to be 90 degrees. And I can see eventually I'm going to get there in my proof, but I've just got to figure out the statements and reasons that we need to add into the proof before we can go ahead and officially say that the measure of angle AEC is 90. All right, so statement 1 is given. Then we know that in statement 2, we're going to use the fact that they're complementary, and we're going to use the definition of complementary angles. So if I look in my proof packet, I know that the definition of complementary angles, I'm going to be adding up those angles to equal 90. So I'm going to come up with an equation here where the two angles add up to equal 90. And so the two angles that are going to add up to equal 90 are angle AEB and angle BEC. So we're going to go ahead and write this out. We know that these two add up to 90, so the measure of angle AEB plus the measure of angle BEC, that has to be 90 degrees. And we know that because they're complementary, and that's the definition of complementary angles. I'm going to keep angle AEB yellow and BEC orange, just for myself to keep track of everything. All right, so now we're headed to statement 3. We've got to figure out how did they come up with this statement. So let's look at what it says. It says the measure of angle AEC. Okay, that's this angle here. It's equal to the measure of angle AEB, there's my yellow, and BEC. So what I can see, this looks a lot like a part plus a part equals a whole, right? A part plus a part equals the whole. The two smaller angles have to add up to equal the larger. So part plus part equals whole. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna need one of these properties here. What one talks about adding up angles? The angle addition property tells me that the part plus the part equals the whole. So my reason is the angle addition property. And a lot of times some people will abbreviate that AAP. Okay. So from here, from statement 3, we're concluding in statement 4 that the measure of angle AEC is 90. Well, how did we know that? We know that the yellow and the orange angle equals 90. Added together. So it's kind of like we're taking 90 and we're substituting it in. Right? We're taking the measure of angle AEB plus the measure of angle BEC. We know it's 90, so we're taking that 90 degrees and we're substituting it in here to conclude that, well, then AEC must be 90 degrees. So you can call this substitution. You could call it the transitive property as well. That would work too, transitive property. Remember, when we take two statements and we use them to substitute and make a final statement, that's substitution or transitive. Okay. All right, now they have this part for us already. Okay, we know that the measure of angle AED, I'll make this one blue, that's this one here, plus the measure of angle AEC is 180, and we know that because these two angles make a straight line, they're supplementary. So they have that filled in for us. That's the definition of supplementary angles. And now we can tell that in statement 6, we're going to be using the substitution property. So we know we've got to look up in our statements above and have to figure out what are we going to substitute in for something else. And what I see I've got AEC here and AEC here. So if I'm thinking I'm going to be substituting something in, if AEC is equal to 90, and I know I'm going to have to conclude something about the measure of angle AED, they're going to be substituting 90 in for the measure of angle AEC because we know that it's equal to 90. So let's go ahead and do that. We're taking 90 degrees and we're substituting it in and rewriting this equation. All right, so we're at statement 6, and we have to get to statement 7 somehow. So I know that the measure of angle AED plus 90 is 180, and somehow we got to go from this equation to this one. So we got to look at what might they have done, what's different. I notice from here to here on the left side of my equation that the 90 degrees is gone. See that? The 90 degrees is gone. So I bet they subtracted 90 degrees from both sides to make it cancel. And let's see, when you subtract 90 from both sides, you get the measure of angle AED, 180 minus 90, you get 90. So from statement 6 to statement 7, they used the subtraction property to get rid of that 90 degrees because they subtracted 90 on both sides. So we have proven that the measure of angle AED is also 90 degrees.